What's up, losers? Today I'm going to try something a little different. By reacting to a couple of depressing memes and posts from the subreddit r/2meirl4meirl. Even though the posts are generally dark humor, more than anything else, I feel that I should provide a trigger warning in advance. Some of them deal with themes like depression, mental health problems, and suicide. So if those are topics that you are sensitive to, feel free to click away and watch something else. I won't take it personally, haha. With that out of the way, let's get a little too real.
Kind of a bummer to have been born at the end of the frick around century. Just to live the rest of my life in the find out century. I'm not comforted at all by how many people with science jobs in their bio are retweeting this.
Yeah, I definitely feel this. It's weird, although I take so many aspects of our present-day life for granted, and can't imagine going back to a time without them. I do sometimes feel that the 20th century, at least the second half of it, was just the time to be alive, in a way that the 21st is not. I don't know about anyone else, but where I live, house prices are soaring, inflation is rising, and wages remain stagnant. The older generations can sit around for a year, literally doing nothing, and earn hundreds of thousands from their property, which they were able to buy working relatively unskilled jobs several decades ago. But for younger people, i.e. millennials and especially Zoomers, it's nearly impossible to even get a foot in the door. Unless you're the beneficiary of generational wealth. Or you win the lottery, I guess, haha. And all of this gives one the inescapable impression that it would have been better to be born 20, 30, 40 years ago, when there was still a chance to carve out a piece of the pie for yourself. The looming specter of climate change is just the cherry on top. In all likelihood, those same people who are living it up on work done 30 plus years ago will be dead by the time climate change really starts to wreak havoc. And we, the younger generations, who have never had the chance to enjoy independence or wield institutional power, will be left to hold the bag. And as for the kids being born now, well, I don't even want to think about how frightening their prospects might be. If I'm being honest, I have no idea how people can justify having children in the face of the coming climate catastrophe. It just seems totally unethical to me, but I guess people are going to do what they're going to do.
I'm gonna be that cool uncle that killed himself after years of severe mental illness, and is talked about in hushed tones.
Couldn't be me, haha. Nobody would say that I'm cool. But yeah, it's interesting that so many people can relate to this idea of the cool uncle. And the idea that there's a hidden sadness to him. Maybe it's because he's on the fringes. Probably he doesn't have a wife or kids of his own. He only seems cool because he spends all his money and love on his nieces and nephews. But after that, he returns to an empty house, and the cheeky grin melts away, leaving nothing but a bitter emptiness to contend with day by day. When you think of it that way, it's pretty sad that we usually only talk of such people in hushed tones, because we may have meant a lot to them. But when it comes down to it, they don't mean enough to us, that we are willing to face the grief and trauma of properly and lovingly remembering them. So we turn the other way, pretend that they were never there, never brought us presents, told us stories, or made us laugh. We confirm what they must have feared all along, that, when it came down to it, they were always only supporting characters in our lives. This post probably resonates with people, because most of us probably reflect on our importance to the people around us. from time to time, and realize that we are no more indispensable to our friends and family than that cool uncle was to us. And that's just really damn tragic.
Why the frick does no one talk about the fact that depression and anxiety can give you major memory loss?
Because none of us remember.
Ha ha, that's funny. I don't have too much to add to this one, to be honest. I've never really experienced anything like this. Someone I know really well, who struggles with depression, has though, and it really messes with your brain. Like, there's a whole year of his life where he doesn't remember what he did. And because he's basically blanked that year out, he struggles to keep track of how many years passed by around that time. It's pretty wild, and I don't envy anyone who has to deal with things like that.
What pisses you off instantly these days? Just opening my eyes in the morning.
Okay, yeah, this is definitely me. Getting up is honestly so challenging for me sometimes. Obviously, just feeling tired and apathetic all the time makes it difficult. But it's also compounded by my being an extreme night owl. Like, it's only once the sun goes down that I start to feel remotely okay. Most days, when I first wake, I feel sore, dehydrated, angry, tired, and generally miserable, and I just wish I could crawl back under the covers and stay there forever. Not fun.
Generally speaking, we severely underrate how good people are at hiding their depression and other mental health issues.
I do agree with this sentiment, but I think there's more to it than that. While it's true that sometimes it's hard to see that someone is struggling, the more sobering realization is that even if you can identify that someone is suffering, there's often nothing you can do about it. We like to think that if we notice something like depression, we can fix it, give them someone to talk to, direct them to get therapy, etc., etc. But it's not as simple as that. Sometimes, people don't want to talk to you. Sometimes, people reject therapy. Sometimes people get therapy, and it doesn't solve their problems. Some people will even deny the problem right to your face, even though you can see it in their eyes, clear as day. So, yeah, often we can't see what people are going through, but the most brutal part of it is that even if we could, there's a pretty big chance that we would be no better placed to do anything about it anyway.
If I could describe my mental health in 2 picks, this would be it.
I would have said that I relate to this one in the past. But I think things are a little different for me now. I don't really experience the big swings in mood and self-esteem that I used to. I've kind of settled into a groove of general indifference, with rare breaks from that indifference in either direction. It's a pretty boring and dispiriting existence, in all honesty, but I probably wouldn't trade it for the roller coaster that I used to go through. Better bland stability than harsh upheaval, I say. Well, that's all I've got. I hope you enjoyed this little chat. I know some of these topics are pretty heavy, but I think it's better to talk about them, make jokes even, than to bury 'em down deep and avoid 'em entirely. I would love to hear from you guys on this one. Any thoughts, opinions, stories, anything, drop a comment, share your experience. Remember that if you're struggling with dark thoughts, or you just can't seem to get happy, you should seek professional help. It will probably not solve your problems in one fell swoop, but it is a first step towards a better life. And it is definitely a first step worth taking. As always, don't forget to like and subscribe, or I'll come to your house crying and eat all your ice cream. Ha ha. Catch you later.